So I'm going to start today with some easy breathing, moving across my hips, feet, shoulders. We've covered some things in class before using the big foam rolls. And of course I told you you'd never get to, come to my home to see my bed stretches, but today's that day. Most of us tend to hold a lot of tension in our shoulders and neck, so we always try and pay a little extra attention to that area. As we rotate in and out, we're just moving across the collarbones and shoulder blades. Then we're going to work on a simplified version of the seed breath. So, as with all things, I want you to think about deepening into your lower body, not locking out through the knees, anchoring through the hips. And this breath is the seed. So we catch it down at the bottom and we start to push up through the soil, capture around our heart, and grow up. And we can start to branch and flower until we're heavy with fruit. Drop the fruit to begin a new cycle and begin again. Inhaling up. Exhale as we expand our bubble. So one of the reasons this was good for me today, we're pulling that energy up through the middle of ourselves. And we're making this protective bubble of our branches and our energy as we go out. Inhale. Seed from the heart, bursting through the surface to grow and spread and bloom and fruit and decay and begin again. And inhale. Of course, you need to breathe at your own pace and movement so that your cycles match and work for you. One more breath in. And out. And release. I'm just going to start with a nice big forward fold to elongate the back of my body. Inhale, coming up. Take a moment to shift side to side, reach through shoulders and hands, create the length in your spine that will need to move forward. Hands to your sides for a little easier leverage. Trying to line up the spine as long as you can from tailbone to the crown of your head. And then exhaling, we'll roll all the way down into a forward fold. With each exhale, we're letting go of tension in the low back, hamstrings, neck and shoulders. When things feel loosened up a bit, I like to wag my tail, shift my hips. Also, it's a good time to let your neck rotate a bit. If your head's hanging down, gravity's helping you there. I'll just turn my chin from one shoulder to the other. And as I exhale this time, I'm going to come down into a squat. You'll see me do that a lot. It's not traditional yoga. It's a benefit for light-headed wonders so that we don't get too dizzy standing up all at once. And from here, I will press back up to standing. Good. So I don't know how my battery level is going to go or my filming prowess or anything like that. So I'm just going to kind of go into what I like to use something this height to do. So think about finding your feet underneath you, a little wider than hip distance apart. I'm going to inhale as I come up. As I exhale, I'm coming back into that swan dive, or that half fold. And then I'm going to push my chest and shoulders onto the bed and let that weight be supported. You can let your forehead come down or turn your head to the side. And then a little bit of tension into the bed, I'm going to push back through the hips. So I'm keeping that chest and shoulder very open as I drag backwards. And then as I come back a little further, you may not have this. I could also be here. We're going to bend into our knees and let our heads come down lower than our spine. And then I'll move my butt back out of the camera. And then I'm going to push into my heels and slowly roll up. As I do, I'm bringing my hands to the edge or corner. We're going to push down into the bed as we lift the chest, lift the chin, fold the shoulders back, and gently press the hips forward. You can play around with whether your heels are on the floor, or if you let yourself roll up on your toes, it's a little different stretch through the back of the legs. If you feel comfortable there and want a little more, you can open the hands up behind us, supporting that place just at the top of the hip bones. And allow yourself to really lean into that bed. Lift the chin, hold the elbows and shoulders back. One more breath here. As I exhale, I'm going to bring my chin forward first, supporting my neck. Release the arms. And come right back in to that flat back position. Bending into my knees, pushing through my heels. I'll roll back up, let the shoulders roll. So we played around a little bit with lunges. That's essentially where we are here. Play with the distance between the feet. We're just going to bring one leg up. Use the hands for support and press the hips towards the bed. You may be surprised that any degree of kind of arching the back and lifting the chin, you're going to feel even more in that standing legs hip. And it's sometimes an easier way to get a deeper stretch than to try and lean further forward. And we'll press back. I'm going to extend that leg now. You may have a bed that's a good height. Your couch may be a good place for you. Couches are sometimes nice because you've got that support of the back or arm. I'm just going to move right into a forward fold. So I'm going to walk myself down that front leg. I like to hold things for several breaths. At first, as you move into a deep stretch, your ligaments and muscles want to kind of tighten up. You want to give them a chance to relax. So I come up. I am just going to pivot. So my right foot's coming into the center, and I'm pivoting around so that now I'm stretching inner thigh, outer hip. You may or may not want to try this next one. It's a little bit of a balance challenge, but I love it. So here, I'm continuing to rotate. My knee is supported on the bed, and you can lean forward and feel that stretch and gradually come up. If you don't have something here, it may be a bit much. If so, skip that one. And then we've done a lot with pigeon, and pigeon on the floor can be a lot of a challenge. You don't have a lot of control over how much of your body weight is bearing down. On the bed, I'm just going to have my knee at 90, and then as I move forward, I'm pushing forward through the knee, so my foot's closer to my left hip. And you're in standing pigeon. Think about pressing back into that standing leg's heel. I'm going to start by placing my hands next to my hips and arching back. So you should feel that open up the left hip flexor a little more. One more breath in. As I exhale, I'm going to fold my upper body over my right knee. And when I go to come up, I'm just going to pull my hands back towards me as I bring my chest up, shoulders back, and step it out. We're going to start this time on the opposite leg, so we'll start out in a lunge. As I hinge forward and pressing the front of that right hip into the edge of the bed. Lift the chest, roll the shoulders back. One more breath in. As I exhale, come upright. Press the hips back. Extend the leg. Feel free to kind of move through the hip, rotate if you need to. Sometimes you'll have a place that's more comfortable than others. And we do want to keep a little bit of bend in that standing leg. As I exhale, I'm just going to walk down over that left leg. Also, feel free to play with the variable of the foot. The more we flex our toes back towards the shins, the more we're going to feel that down into the calf. If you're real tight there and you want to focus on the hamstrings, then let the foot relax. And I'll roll back up. And I'm going to pivot so that the inside arch of my foot is on the bed. Gently, feel free to let the knee bend a little if you need to. This can be real intense on the inner thigh, and if it's too much, that's a good way to make it a little more accessible. And then I'm going to pivot, bringing the front of my knee to the bed, bending into the hips, and then lifting the chest, letting that back arch a bit. You're opening up the hip flexor all the way down the thigh. And this may be something that you would prefer to do on a couch or a footstool so that you have that leverage, but it's a lot lower. And I'll come back forward. And I'll get ready to go into pigeon. So that bent knee, we're just going to rotate through the hip. As I hinge forward, I'm letting the foot come in next to the front of my right hip bone. Find a place that's comfortable on the standing leg. And let the hips come in next to the bed. You can even rest your weight against that bed. I'll start my arching and lifting. Let the shoulders roll back, come away from the ears. One more breath in. Exhale and bring the head up. And then we'll bring the body forward, laying the chest down over the front leg. Let the head hang loosely. Sometimes if I'm really tight in the hips, and I tend to be, I'll sway a little bit from side to side, helping to encourage my body to loosen into that stretch. One more breath here. And then I'll walk my hands back towards my body, bringing myself back upright. Bring the the hips back, step down, step it out. Okay, well, what else I have to say is it's Wednesday, it's cloudy. Much love to you guys.